A warning to cryptid hunters. I found another goddamn corpse today. No wounds, just a face frozen in terror. This is episode 1, and it only gets worse from here. This time of year is really something. Frost is painting the window panes. The snowflakes look like tiny stars falling from the sky, and I found a corpse on my property today. Or rather, one of the security guards did. He called me right away, talking in that sort of low, empty tone. He sounded dead inside, for lack of a better word. Miss Novak. He fell silent for a few seconds, like he hadn't really thought of what to say next. You should come to the Red Meadow, I think. What do you mean, you think? I asked, a little annoyed seeing as I'd been busy with some computer work at that moment. I instantly regretted my brusque tone. There's a body. I nearly dropped my cell phone. Suddenly feeling weirdly disconnected from myself, I staggered to my feet and began fumbling for my keys. I'll be right there, Gus, I promised, voice trembling, before ending the call. The Red Meadow is a wide plain right outside the eastern edge of the woods. It's full of these strange scarlet flowers. They're about the same size as a regular old daisy, and their petals are shaped a bit like tiny hearts. Weirdly enough, we've been unable to identify them. There are many flowers like them, but none are an exact match. My father used to be obsessed with them. He was always picking and drying them. He never found out more about them either, though. Today, a blanket of snow covered the meadow, yet the intense red of the flowers still managed to shine through in some places. I could see Fergus standing near the tree line, stiffly waving to me. His shallow, labored breaths rose from his lips in tiny plumes of vapor as he jogged to meet me halfway. I didn't see it happen, he said dryly. I heard screams, I followed them, and there he was. Whatever did it was already gone by the time I got there. He led me over to the body, a man in his 30s, dressed in much the same functional clothes as the first cryptid hunter who'd found his way onto my property not too long ago. My head was reeling. How did these guys keep getting in? I think he died of fright, Gus remarked. When I found him, he was lying on his stomach, with one of his arms underneath him. Why'd you roll him over? Checking for injuries. Found nothing, not even a trace of blood. Look at his face, though. I sighed. I'd admittedly avoided doing so up to that point. I knelt down next to the dead man, gathering my large, far too voluminous skirt at my sides. I raised my eyes to meet the corpse's empty gaze. Shaking my head, I tried to chase the flashing memories of my little brother's severed head from my mind. All those who die in fear seem to share this same look. Their horror remains imprinted on their contorted grimace, preserved for those unfortunate enough to happen upon their bodies. Fergus was probably right. The way he'd found this man suggested he'd been on his way out of the woods, presumably running from something. Another thrill-seeker who'd had too much of a good thing. It was even sadder to see him here, beyond the tree line. He'd nearly made it out alive. Then the adrenaline must have overtaxed his heart, and he'd fallen over, clutching his chest. I wondered if he'd realized what was happening. Maybe not. Maybe he'd been so terrified by whatever was chasing him that he hadn't even seen it coming. Either way, in his last moments, there had only been him, this fearsome, unknown entity and his exerted, failing body. What a shitty way to go. Are you okay, Gus? Do you want to go home? You need me here, don't you? I do, but I don't want you to go around like nothing happened when you've just found a body, I argued. I'll be okay. It's not the first time we've had a death here. I gave him a concerned frown. He didn't sound all that convincing. He obviously didn't want me to fuss, so I didn't, but it felt crappy leaving him on that note. I told him to follow his normal route, hoping the rest of the day would go smoothly for him. To me, however, this corpse meant a lot more work. First off, I would have to dispose of him. It's not like we go entirely unnoticed out here. We could get a visit from the police in due time. Now, my family has maybe 2 or 3 friends among the local authorities who know what's really going on in these woods. They're likely to see to it that if someone goes missing on our property, no further inquiries are made. Imagine a search being launched in my forest. It'd be a bloodbath. Even so, best not to risk anything. The corpse still needed to disappear. The easiest way to do that was to dump it in the lake. In case I haven't mentioned it before, the lake is located about a 20-minute walk from the Red Meadow in a lighter, less densely wooded area. It's twin lakes, actually, connected by a fierce old stream. I had the bigger one in mind, though. Drop something in there and it'll be gone in a flash. Fall in yourself and... Oh well, it hasn't frozen over yet this year, so I decided to go for it right away. I don't have a vehicle fit to transport a corpse through the woods, but I do have Jeanette. Jeanette is a mule. I got one of my workers who was hanging out at my family's house at the moment to bring her right over. We loaded her up and I got on my way. The woods were quiet as per usual. Walking alone normally agrees with me, but hauling a corpse and a stubborn mule really put a damper on the mood. I tried to focus on the glittering snow beneath my boots and the many shiny icicles that made the forest resemble a stalactite cave, anything but the dead body bobbing up and down on the back of the animal beside me. We were getting on slower than I'd hoped. The wintry air was beginning to sting my bare shoulders. Seeing as I normally didn't mind it at all, that was saying something. Jeanette was being a drama queen. She always knows when I really need her help, and it's then that she's the most uncooperative. With the sun going down in the afternoon this time of year, darkness was already beginning to settle over the treetops. The water surface was still and undisturbed, covered partially by thin plates of ice. I surveyed the lake with bated breath. As peaceful as it looked, I knew how volatile a state this tranquility posed come nightfall. "Grandfather," I called out into the darkness, trying to keep my voice down. Now, the creature I was hoping to rouse obviously isn't my actual grandfather. It's just a nickname he, the Vodyanoi, goes by. I needed to talk to him to ask permission before laying the ill-fated explorer to rest in his waters. The lake stayed eerily quiet. "Grandfather," I repeated, a little louder this time. I hated having to raise my voice. The woods prefer silence. To my frustration, I received no response. The water remained an unblinking black mirror, without so much as a single bubble rising to the surface. It didn't look as though Grandfather Vodyanoi was going to show up, which meant that I was being faced with a difficult decision. I really didn't want to stick around for anything that might have overheard me shouting to drop in. I would have to dump the cadaver without consulting the big boss. Against my better judgment, I dragged the body off my mule and rolled it towards the edge of the lake. Giving it one last powerful shove, it fell off the small ridge and disappeared with a satisfying plop. I imagined it rapidly sinking to the bottom, and a weight fell off my shoulders. I lingered for merely a minute, wallowing in my melancholy and wondering if the Vodyanoi would be mad at me when he woke up to find I'd used his haunting grounds as garbage disposal. That question would not go unanswered for long. Just as I turned to leave, I heard a frantic, enormous splashing sound. Whirling around, I let out a yelp of surprise when I saw the creature rise from the murky depths. He was twice my size, an old, green-skinned man with a nightmarishly contorted face that resembled that of a catfish more than a human's. I staggered backwards as he started dragging himself up onto the dry land on his big paunch, his morbid, fleshy masses wrinkling and wriggling grotesquely. Algae hung in his long, tangled white hair, and scales covered the lower part of his body, which thinned into a fishtail. I cursed myself for not waiting for him earlier. Perhaps he'd heard me lingering just beneath the surface, expecting me to make a transgression he could justly punish me for. I could feel I was about to pay dearly for my impatience. "Grandfather, I'm sorry," I instantly cried out. I was nervous, I had to be quick, so I... But that wasn't the last body we found, and what we saw next. It changed everything. Episode 2 drops soon. You won't believe what crawled out of those woods.